Ivy League H in the building.
That's hilarious. Listen, I'm just sitting here trying to do what I can. I'm drinking my water, minding my business.
Minding your business.
I
That
need
hey,
to
that's what's
be
up, yo.
able
That's
to.
hey, that is the motto. Shout out Doc. I'm sure he'll join us at some point, but when you got Fortune 500 jobs and stuff, man, you got, you know, we're
My
not
crop.
necessarily we're not necessarily the priority, but that's okay. Shouts to my brother. All right, so how we start? Well, first of all, I got to check in with you. We ain't seen each other in 2 weeks, and so how are you doing? What's bringing you joy?
How am I doing? I'm doing well. I We ended our Girls Inc. summer camp for one location last week. Tomorrow is the last day at our second location. Shout out to the amazing girls, their facilitators, and all of our partners who helped to make sure that we had a wonderful camp. So feeling good about that. Feeling grateful. It was really a good week. I can't complain. It flew by fast. So I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I'm taking good care of myself. I find that during the days I do a lot of self talk. So not like talking to myself like a crazy person, but a lot of reassurance, a lot of like naming what I'm doing or reminding myself that I can get through it. And I didn't really realize it was a thing until recently, but that has been helping me to stay mindful in all the things I do and not feeling stressed out in my eating and my spending, just slowing down and being more observant and being more present. Um, I know when we chatted earlier today on the little thread we talked about weathering and the impact that institutional racism and environmental racism has on just your body, just the way you hold stress, the way you breathe, the way you operate. And so, reading that book and hearing about the impact of weathering has really pushed me to be more thoughtful about how I speak, how I approach my days, how I approach my time. And so because of that, I'm feeling real good. Doesn't even feel like it's Thursday. It feels early in the weekend. So I'm feeling good. But how about you? How you feeling? What's going on?
Hey, listen, what we eat, what we drink, what we speak,
Yeah.
that stuff is all you know, it, that stuff is all important in terms of like how we taking care of ourselves and whatnot. So as for me, you know, I mean, like, honestly, listen, I don't think folks really understand how hard it is to write a dissertation, right? And so, a 5 chapter dissertation is one of the most difficult types of writing that you can do, especially if it's a topic that you care about, especially if you're a historically marginalized doctoral student, right? And it's extremely difficult. And so, shout out to the folks that have like poured into me and have been giving me support with regards to this long ass journey that I've been on in order to get to where I gotta go. And what I will say about it is this, right? I met with one of my co-chairs today, and and for like the last 3 months, she's been calling my data thin data. And so for those of y'all that are listening to this podcast, thin data is basically like somebody saying that you didn't interview enough people, or you don't have enough data in order to have findings, right? So that's a basic interpretation of what thin data is. And so as I recompiled, checked in with her to make sure that I was doing the right thing in terms of my thematic coding and in terms of just all of the things that a chapter 4 entails, and I finally got it together. I met with her today, and no longer is my data thin. It was very impactful. She was very impressed with regards to like what the participants in my study had to say, and she even gave me the green light to kind of go in terms of like addressing white supremacist constructs in school leadership. So I'm extremely excited about that. The end is near, and I'm gonna be talking big shit very, very soon. Very, very soon. Very, very soon. Yeah.
Well, I love that. And I'll say this, right? Like, you do want to make sure that your research is statistically significant, right?
Yeah.
Um, because imagine if there are folks who go and interview one Wonka dude crazy and they decide that what they said is the right thing, right? And so for you and for others out there who are feeling pushback from your chair, pushback from committee members, pushback from folks who are in higher ed who are like, yo, you got to interview more than 15 cats. Like, I'm gonna need you to run this methodology. Are you sure you're gonna do a focus group and not this? Like, understand that some of these things that we consider to be hurdles, and in the moment you take it personally. I mean, I shared with you, my chair, who I love and adore and would do anything for, was like, yeah, so you're good, but this three is trash, and I can't in good faith let you keep moving forward with the way your three is right now. That, for those who don't know, chapter three is your methodology, right? And so she pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and others who were in my cohort kept going and going and going, and she was pushing me, right?
Yeah,
At the end, I didn't have to do any, because her pushes were because she cared about me. She cared
yep,
about the integrity of her role as my chair, and she
yep.
cared about the sustainability of this work. And so I would say to folks,
Hey, her name is on it.
her name
Hey,
is on.
so listen. Whenever I get pushed back from like my one of my chairs or my third reader, at the end of the day, I gotta say to myself, I'm like, yo, this person's name is on this, right? And so therefore,
Yeah,
I gotta take that into account in terms of when and how I'm receiving that feedback in order to make sure that I'm coming with my best foot forward, right? And so, yes, there are some hurdles in terms of like people that intentionally obstruct folks from like getting to the other side, and we need to talk about that and we need to unpack
yeah,
that because I feel like a lot of people, what they do is once they defend, they're so happy at the fact that they're now Doctor Whoever, right? And they forget about everything that they've gone through.
yeah.
And so they don't set people up that are coming into the process for like letting them know that, hey, here are these obstacles that may present themselves, and here's how you overcome these obstacles, right? Um, but yeah, I think that's a book.
Listen, and when you done, and listen, and for those who are listening, until it's in ProQuest, it ain't real, right?
Yeah,
You can have
facts.
your until it's uploaded, and that's the thing, right? Very few people will get a chance to meet you, to listen to you, to be in space with you, but your research will be influencing people that we will never meet and see. So
One
shout
hundred
out
percent.
to those chairs and committees who are taking their role in that seriously, who are being who are, what do we call it when we're in school, warm demand, right? Who are pushing you, who care about you, but who are seriously like, you're not gonna
Yeah.
put out too many folks, specifically those who have been doing a bunch of studies and get a lot of money, put put out trash research,
Oh
and
my
we
god.
Oh,
will not add to the
oh,
trash.
shots fired. Bang.
Pew, 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 pew.
Whoa,
And we're not
whoa,
doing that. Your name and
whoa.
other, we're not going to do that. So with that being said, what up? 1/3 is back. 3/3, we fully here. What up, Doc?
What up, y'all? I'm sorry I'm late. I got a lot going on, so it's been an interesting day to say the least. So I'm just glad to be here with my people because I need this space and keeping up with y'all as best I can. It's been a long week of camp and just trying to stay above water, and I'm just glad to
So
see y'all.
what brought you joy this week, bro?
Uh, my youngest son going to camp and coming out running hype,
Um,
because we found a camp for kids that are have some degree of neurodiversity, and it's a small camp, and he's found his village. So every day he get out the car, get in the car, just on 10. So that brings me joy at about nine
Love that.
o'clock and about 4 o'clock when I pick him up, and he's on 10, and he still got energy, and I'm like, bro, you need to dial this all the way back because your energy at 4 o'clock shouldn't be what it was at 9. But that brought me joy all week, being able to do that and take my oldest to football camp. It's his first time playing organized football, so
What are
uh,
you playing? Tight end?
wide receiver.
Okay.
So he doing a little flag football camp just to see if he like it. I think he gonna stick with basketball. I think he was like, yo, there was, they ain't no fouls. I'm like, nah, man, a foul, like that, you know.
very, very physical, very physical.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
it was good, man.
all right, let's jump in. So first up, man, we got to talk about the Senate Minority Leader, uh, Mitch McConnell, the senior senator out of the state of Kentucky, and so we'll play this.
Operation and a string of
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press?
Go ahead, John.
I'll take it. Let's go back to you.
Go ahead, John.
Yo, so I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but H, what were your initial thoughts when you saw this?
So I I didn't see it. I actually heard it when I was listening to the radio on my way home on Sirius XM, and the pause was troubling. Like you can't see it, you just hear it, and you're kind of like, what's going on? And then when I saw it, it was incredibly disturbing. I saw some memes that were like he was paused because like the Grim Reaper was like showing him all that he had done and the impact. And I was like, wow, that's awful. But it made me start to think about these conversations about age and how many people are in these terms. And so I did a little research. And so when the Constitution was written in 1787, what do you think the average lifespan of a white man was?
Probably
I
around
will tell you. It was
55
30, it was 36 years old.
Woo!
Meanwhile, the average age of the folks that are serving and making these decisions for us is certainly not 36, right? Diane is 89. The senator from Iowa is also 89. Bernie is 81. Mitch McConnell is 80. Lindsey Graham is 67. And so while I appreciate the way, in some ways, that they are trying to establish government and democracy in a way that you can keep some consistency and still bring in other folks, it just makes me think, I mean, I'm 47 now. I'm 46. I'll be 47 in November. I don't want to work till I'm 87. I don't want to work till I'm 89. I won't have the physical capacity. I hope to have the mental dexterity, but who knows? And so I think we just got to have even I don't like his politics. I don't like where he stands, but in that moment, I couldn't help but look at the humanity of what seemed like an elderly man who was disoriented and confused. And then I became worried about the kinds of decisions that he may be making, right? Which also lets us understand this. Even to the other crazy fool we're going to talk about in a little bit, who's running Florida amok. These are individuals, but they have teams of other people who are writing their speeches, who are writing their statements. And so we got to remember that we can throw heat at one, but this is more than just one individual. And so I think, I'm concerned about his health. I'm concerned about his wellness. I would never want to see anybody, even if they were my enemy, to be sick. And it's worrisome. He could be the final vote on a decision that could have an impact on things that happen to other folks. And at that moment, it didn't look like he was well enough and capable to serve.
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, I felt really bad because similar to H, I don't agree with his politics by any stretch of the imagination. I just felt bad because I'm watching my own mother age at this point. And like, it just makes me think like she's not 80, but she will tell me every year, like, I'm gonna retire, and then she done retire. Oh, I'm gonna retire next year. Oh, the pension system in Detroit is this, and this, and just makes me really hyper aware of the way in which we treat the elders in our community, the ways in which we, honor them, the ways in which we show them, give them grace at moments like this. And I saw the memes and was just like, nah, I ain't about that life.
Yeah.
I can disagree with you, but like, I'll put a meme out based on our disagreement. I don't even know how to make a meme, so let me not even trip. But, I will give somebody a bit of information and provide clarification when they have a dumb opinion or something I disagree with. But something like that, it was startling and initially I thought that there was like a tape delay because I didn't realize that he was that old. Like that was the other thing and I'll admit lately I've checked out of the political discourse because I'm just tired. Right.
Yeah.
And so I haven't really paid attention to, I don't watch MSNBC or like I used to in the morning, blah, blah, blah. I haven't done that for 2 weeks. I just needed a break. So when I saw him, I was like, gosh, I never realized how old Mitch McConnell was until that moment. but it also took me back to, what is it that, I can be doing for others in our community who aren't going to have the type of healthcare that he has access to. What's my responsibility to, folks who just are struggling, and like it just was a reminder to me. It was sad. Like I didn't find any joy in seeing it, regardless of his politics. So yeah, real sad.
Mm, wow. So for me, as the fellow Republican on the pod, I felt absolutely nothing for him with regards to his age, and here's the reason why. Recently, the Supreme Court made a decision for women to not have control over their bodies,
Hmm.
taking away the legal right for abortions to occur. And then also, just recently, the Supreme Court took away affirmative action from folks, vying to be seen as equals, and to have things on an equal playing field in terms of college admittance. Mitch McConnell is one of the single most orchestrators of this newly designed Supreme Court. And so I'm a firm believer of an eye for an eye. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is an eye for an eye, but at the end of the day, there's a higher deity that we all have to answer to. And so, you know, he needs to get his stuff, to get his things in order for him to prepare for that reckoning that he may be heading towards. Because I took myself out. Oh, my bad. All right, yeah, because yo, listen,
That was the reckoning. That was the reckoning.
maybe it was.
I didn't know what was going on. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That was
So
the
I mean,
reckoning.
so I get it. You know what I'm saying? My mom is Asian as well, and I got uncles that are Asian, and I ask them, I'm like, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Oh, I can't do this because I got an appointment that I can't miss, and like all these other things that, like, it wasn't like that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And so I get it, looking at it from that lens. But this particular person, I feel like he's earned all of the ire that he's receiving from folks, right?
Man,
Damn.
Yeah.
damn, dog.
That's the energy I got for that guy, man. You can't make policy that's gonna impact historically marginalized people, and then see, that's what's wrong with black people. Wait, let me put my full screen. I'm getting on my Stephen A right now, right? So, hey,
Oh boy.
black folks are the most forgiving people in the world, right? And so here it is, you have this joker who has straight up made racist policies that impact the well-being of black people. But here it is, we have two race scholars that are defending this man's humanity, and that's what's wrong with black people.
So
Right there.
are the facts that I can't speak for anybody but myself. And you said black people are the most forgiving, and you are right, and that's what makes us special. That is why we operate on a higher frequency.
We
Our
really do.
capacity to love is different. Our understandings and commitment to community, the resilience and the sacrifice and the beauty and the joy that we can make out of nothing is directly connected to that. We couldn't have that this joy that I got, they didn't give it and they can't take it away. We couldn't have that and didn't have hate for this awful man. And like our good friend Doc likes to say, two things can be true at the same time. And his policies can be awful and hurtful and ignorant and sexist and racist and wrong. But at the end of the day, when that beeping goes off, he's gonna go in the ground or in the crematorium just like everybody else. And so I'm grateful that I
Mm,
can find. I mean, if you can find humanity in him, he's one of many. It's
mm,
hard to find humanity, right? I mean,
mm,
but that to me is what makes us dynamic, unique, and direct descendants of the stars. But I'll stop.
Mm.
mm.
All right. Next up, segueing on here, we got this guy who Jalen Brown, who I'm extremely proud of. Doc, where you see this clip?
Jalen, what do you plan to do with the generational wealth? I mean, what do you plan to do off and on the floor with this new contract?
Well, that's a great question. I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston. I want to attack the wealth disparity here. I think there's analytics that supports that, stimulating the wealth gap could actually be something that could be betterment for the entire economy. With the biggest financial deal in NBA history, it makes sense to talk about, one, your investment in community, but two, also, the wealth disparity here that nobody wants to talk about. It's top 5 in the U.S. It's something that we can all improve on. It's unsettling. And I think through my platform, through influential partners, through selected leaders, government officials, a lot who are in this room, that we can come together and create new jobs, new resources, new businesses, new ideas that could, highlight minorities, but also stimulate the economy and the wealth gap at the same time. I think that could be a mix of commercial entities, real estate, residentials as well. Boston could be, a fully integrated, self-sufficient, hub, attacking minorities and stimulating the wealth gap. I think Boston could be a pilot, not just for wealth disparity here in the U.S., but also for around the world. So you asked me what I wanted to do or what I want to do. One, I want to, attack that wealth gap here in Boston, create a project. Also, I want to help stimulate the overall economy, and I want to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston.
All right, so Doc, jump in. I only got one piece of feedback for him, but jump in though. What were your thoughts?
First of all, he got that fucking bag. Let's
celebrate that black man.
I was like, get your bag. It don't matter whether he the best player in the league. He played by the rules. He got his bag. So that's one. Two, when I saw that video, I was like, this right here, if he set up a foundation today,
yes, sir.
And he said, I need donations,
yes, sir.
I'm donating. If he said, I want people to come to Boston to work on whatever project, and we just need you to donate your time, I'm going to Boston. Now, as a Piston fan, I can't cheer for the Celtics. It's illegal.
Yeah.
But I'm cheering for Jaylen Brown from here to eternity.
Yes,
and
sir.
he got that bag.
Yes,
it wasn't nickels or quarters in that. It was, as Randy Moss said, straight cash, homie.
Yeah. Hey, and let's be clear. He is by far not the best player in the NBA.
Correct. It don't matter.
But he got the bag. H, what were your thoughts?
Ray, I have a question. Is your feedback that he didn't mention school?
No.
Or education?
No.
Okay. I wondered.
My feedback is that he around here calling people minorities when we the global
majority.
Yeah,
that part.
Okay. That was the second thing I was going to
say. Yeah.
I give you that. So I don't, while I do bleed green, it is not for the Celtics. It is for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go. And I can't say that I know very much about this fella, except as Doc Reed said, he got the bag. So as someone who is just a spectator and who can acknowledge and appreciate it, but who also understands the racial history of Boston and the communities and the ways in which it is, in some extent, incredibly dangerous for Black and brown people in particular parts, even today, I instantly wondered, I wonder how many death threats or how much hate mail he's gotten since he said that. I wonder if people who used to cheer for him are now like, we can't stand him because he's not just talking about basketball. And it made me think about the ways that when folks use their platform for good to say the things that they believe in, that there can be a consequence to that. And so I applaud the young man, and I'm with you. If I'm a school leader, an innovator, an engineer, a creative in Boston, and I heard him say that, I'm sliding right in the DMs, and not for nothing that's on some late night, but on some real, like, hey, listen, it sounds like you want to get the brightest and the best folks. I got people, I got resources, I got research, I got students, I got scholars. So I hope that he can do what he says, and I hope that there are less consequences to what he has said and to his career and his reputation, because I do know how dangerous it can be when you take a stand like that people just want him to sit down and shut up and play basketball. They don't want to hear about Black Wall Street. Somebody right now is Googling it to figure out what it is, right? And so I think that comes with a consequence. So shout out to him for being brave and for being bold and for being unapologetic in what he believes. And I hope that he continues to stay on that path and remain safe.
Yeah. And so I guess my feedback is Jalen Brown, hey, shout out to you, bro. You got the bag. And what else you have is you have me as a lifetime fan. I'm all for folks that come out and are courageous in terms of how they support Black folks. And you did that, bro. And I'm super proud of you for doing that. Most people, when they get the bag, they start worrying about, all the things that they don't need to be worrying about, right? You're doing this different. You're thinking about other people. You're being thoughtful. When you first got the contract, my first thing was he needs to set up a foundation, because I saw the financial breakdown of like the amount of taxes and like all those other things that come into it. And so I was like, man, he needs to set up a foundation so he could save some of that bread. So I'm glad you are forward thinking in terms of how you're doing your stuff, man. And these next 5 years, bro, I know you're gonna do well, and you're probably gonna get an even bigger contract after that, because I can't. God supports people like that. These are the kind of people that play into their 50 like LeBron. And so, listen, man, just keep taking care of yourself, keep nourishing your mind, and yeah. Hey, I tell you what, hey, I came out at a different era, right? Because like I know if I had come out now and I had NIL deals and like all this.
Wouldn't be no school
Y'all
leader
wouldn't
for
know
you.
me. Y'all wouldn't know me.
Nah, I'm with you on that. Like, yeah, it'd
Bro,
be a whole thing.
I would have finessed that system, boy. Hey,
Yeah.
I would have been a 10-year senior.
Yeah, I would have found every transfer loophole,
Oh,
red shirt, green shirt,
yo,
you
my
know.
Lord. Oh,
Yeah, that, it'd have been more than sneakers at that point.
of course. And so, last but not least, man, we touch upon this DeSantis situation down in Florida. A lot of things happening in Florida. I had made a statement the other day. I was recruiting. I'm like, man, if y'all in Florida, y'all can get the hell out of Florida. Come to New York, come wherever. I'll find y'all jobs. DM me, whatever, right? And then some people pushed back and they were like, yo, well, if those people are in Florida, who's gonna fight? Listen, at some point, man, it's like you gotta walk away from the fight in order to kind of recharge, in order to be able to go back to the fight, right? And so if folks made the decision like, hey, for these next 3 years, I'm leaving this DeSantis foolishness and then I'll go back once he's out of office, I can respect that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like you can't keep fighting against racism. You talked about it earlier, H. Like the health effects that come with like having to fight this fight all the time, right? And so I worry about people in Florida in terms of their mental capacity to be able to continue to deal with this outright racism that we're seeing with DeSantis. But I'm gonna play this and get y'all's thoughts.
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is, all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically.
So, Eugene, let's just start with how inaccurate and offensive some of this teaching is from the Florida new curriculum there, but also how Governor DeSantis and his anti-woke policies have put him in a box with speaking to a seemingly smaller and smaller portion of the electorate.
This is what happens when you base your entire kind of political career on this. When you say that everybody needs to be anti-woke, this is where you end up. And when you talk to folks in Florida, the whole point of the bill that came through, this is in reaction to a bill that he wanted. It was making clear what he wanted to folks. And it's because he felt, and a lot of people around this country are starting to feel, that we can't teach the correct history history of this country because it makes white kids uncomfortable. That is at the base of this, right? That it is uncomfortable to hear that people that look like you put people that look like me in chains and made them do things and beat them and rape them. That is uncomfortable for kids to hear. That is what these folks are saying. But then when you use that as a political cudgel, you have to own it, right? At this point, this is on Ron DeSantis. He may not have created these policies with the school board, but at the end of the day, he made it very clear to what he wanted to the folks in that state.
Yeah. And so, H, H, starting with you, what's your reaction to that video?
So, I feel it in my body when I see these things, and it's infuriating. It's very disappointing when people take what they think people believe and want to hear, and like mask it. Like, we don't want white children to feel bad, and so because that can be harmful to their mental health, and we don't want them to feel bad for something someone else did. So let's like change what it says, right? And so they never have a problem not making Black children feel bad, or Native American children feel bad, or brown children feel bad. And so that kind of bothers me. The way he talked about benefiting from these particular skills, what he should have said is that the labor of enslaved Africans benefited this country and built this country. Now, if he said that, he would be right. It also bothers me. I think what gets at the core of this is the ways that we have too often told the story of American history. And for some reason, when we go into these history books, we forget about the ways that Black and that African countries were doing physics and math and engineering, and they were doing art and music, and we act as though they came over, they were blank slates and they came over here and that's all they did. And so even the thought that he would say, well, they learned how to like be a blacksmith and that like helped them get a job. Like this was chattel slavery. They didn't have the right to read. So even if they were able to do that, it certainly didn't come because white people were like, here, let me teach you how to do it. It assumed that Africans who were enslaved in this country had nothing, knew nothing, wanted nothing, and anything they got came as a result of slavery in this country. And that to me is wackadoo. And we have to, if we want to start talking about more accurate portrayals of our history, then we need to go back further than the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. We got to go back bigger than that and be able to have those conversations. Because if you have those conversations, then you won't have children feeling bad because you'll understand what they were coming from. We can't just keep thinking there were slaves, Harriet Tubman freed them, Rosa Parks kept her seat on the bus, Dr. King made a speech, and then we lived happily ever after. Because that's not the reality. But we also don't have as much. We have more now than we had before. But we still don't have enough of us telling our own stories, keeping these conversations going, doing these things in the community, and holding other folks accountable for what they're teaching our kids.
Yeah. But this is our way, though. This podcast is powerful in the fact that we are saying this, right? And the audience is able to hear this and then piecemeal together, exactly what you just said. Doc, what's your thoughts, man?
Man, I ain't got no thoughts, man. I was raised by a mama who went to Spelman, like 2 miles from the uprising in Detroit in the 60s. Just that's just offensive. And the people behind him smirking. I almost threw my iPad out, literally. Like, you son of a, literally. And I mean, yeah. And then my 12-year-old sees a portion of this somewhere and is like, Dad, did you hear that in Florida they said that Black people benefited from slavery? I said, don't watch that show no more. He was like, oh. He was like, okay, Dad. He's like, Can we talk about this later? I was like, man, I don't want to talk about this today. I need a week.
Hey, close us out.
I'm excited to, celebrate the ways in which I have watched my two podcast mates do their work I don't often talk about their work except in private spaces of celebrating them. But I think it's important as I think about the ways in which we wait until it's too late to tell folks how much we appreciate them, how much we love them and respect them. So I'm just giving a shout out to the two of y'all because I watch y'all work on social media. I talk to y'all all the time. And we need more people like y'all on the ground doing this work for our kids. So love and respect for both of y'all, man.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Yeah, no doubt.
See you in a couple of days, actually. H.
My closing word. So today, July 27th, is Black Women Equal Pay Day.
Let's go.
Black women get paid 67 cents on the dollar, according to white men. And I saw another stat. I'm not going to read it, but follow us. If you're not already liking and following us, I will repost it. But it said something to the extent of a Black woman will have to work until she's 91 in order to make what an average white man makes it like 50 something. So, but anyway, Black women deserve equal pay in their work. It's not just a wage gap. This is an injustice. Black women face double discrimination when it comes to pay equity. And so today is an opportunity to name and lift equal work for equal pay. Beyonce, in her very amazing wisdom, once said, "F you, pay me." And so my shout out, my moment goes to organizations. We need everyone to join the fight to ensure that Black women equal pay for equal work.
I don't know if Beyonce said that. I'm calling
She
cap.
did. F you, pay me. Yes, that's a song.
All right. My closing thoughts are this, right? For those folks that are out here worrying about Barbie and if you should go see the movie, definitely go see the movie. If you got a daughter, you need to go see the movie. There's some things in there that are definitely relatable. If you have a son, you definitely need to go see the movie because then your son may pick up on some things on how they need to treat women. And so I strongly recommend this movie. I know that there's some pushback. You got Ben Shapiro, who's a nut, that's out here talking trash about the movie. But listen, I saw it personally, and so I recommend it. And so that's where we at. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you in a couple weeks. Peace.
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 Ray,